The arrows were already in the air when Elias Cade realized the galaxy had made a mistake about humans. They screamed through the smoke-filled sky like silver insects, sharp, fast, and absolutely meant to kill the alien girl standing frozen at the center of the plaza. The crowd was scattering. Security drones were seconds too late. The assassins had chosen their moment perfectly. And Elias, an unimportant human logistics officer from a forgotten border colony, did the one thing no rational species would ever do. He stepped forward. New Astera Station was not a place where heroes were born. It was a trade node built into the hollowed remains of a dead moon, crowded, loud, and permanently tense. Dozens of alien species passed through its markets every hour, each bringing their own grudges, politics, and quiet hatreds. Humans were newcomers here, useful, adaptable, but widely considered fragile and expendable. Elias knew that reputation well. He had spent most of his life proving it wrong in small, forgettable ways. Fixing systems others gave up on. Surviving jobs that should have broken him. Staying calm when panic made smarter beings freeze. Still, none of that mattered now, because none of it explained why his body moved before his mind could object. The alien girl turned at his shout, her wide silver eyes filled with confusion. She was young by her species standards, her pale blue skin marked with glowing patterns that identified her as Aurelian nobility. The assassins had not missed that detail. Political killings were common here. Intervention was not. The first arrow hit Elias square in the chest. Pain exploded through him as the kinetic force slammed him backward, his reinforced jacket tearing but not fully breaking. The second arrow struck his thigh. The third pierced his shoulder. They were not energy weapons. They were old, brutal, and designed to make a point. He did not scream. He staggered, planted his feet, and raised his arms wider, making himself a bigger target. Behind him, the girl gasped. Around them, the plaza fell into stunned silence as more arrows followed, each one carving into human flesh that was never meant to withstand such punishment. Elias felt warm blood soak his clothes. His legs shook. His vision narrowed. Still, he did not move aside. The attackers fled moments later, melting into the crowd as station security finally surged in. By then, Elias was on his knees, breathing hard, hands trembling as gravity began to win. The alien girl caught him before he hit the ground. Her hands glowed faintly as she pressed them against his wounds, instinctively activating a healing ability far too weak to handle the damage he had taken. "Why?" she whispered, voice shaking. "You didn't know me." Elias forced a crooked smile. "Didn't need to." Then the world went dark. When he woke, the ceiling above him shimmered like liquid glass. He tried to move and failed. His body felt heavy, stitched together with pain and heat. Machines hummed softly around him, emitting pulses of blue light that crawled across his skin. The air smelled clean, too clean for a public medical ward. "You are awake," a calm voice said. Elias turned his head slowly. The alien girl sat beside his bed, her posture straighter now, her presence sharper. She wore ceremonial armor this time, elegant and lethal, its design unmistakably royal. Two guards stood silently at the far wall, weapons lowered but ready. "Congratulations," she continued. "You survived something that should have killed you 3 times over." "Humans are annoying like that," Elias muttered. For a moment, she just stared at him. Then she laughed, not politely, but with genuine disbelief. "You blocked 12 monomolecular arrows with your body. Do you know what that means?" "That I'm bad at staying out of trouble." "It means," she said slowly, "that every intelligence report about humans is dangerously incomplete." She stood, and the guards immediately bowed. "I am Serelith of the Aurelium throne," she said. "Daughter of the Queen. And you, human, just disrupted an assassination that would have ignited a sector-wide war." Elias blinked. "No pressure, then." Her expression softened. "You had no obligation to act. You gained nothing by stepping forward. And yet you did." "Someone was going to die," Elias said simply. "I was closer." That answer unsettled her more than anything else. In the days that followed, Elias learned how close he had come to death. The arrows were coated in a toxin designed specifically to shut down alien nervous systems. It should have stopped his heart in seconds. Instead, his body had fought it, burned through it, with a stubborn refusal that left Aurelium scientists stunned. Human biology, they discovered, was not efficient. It was resilient. Scars formed where wounds should not have healed. Muscle fibers reknit themselves in messy, imperfect ways that somehow became stronger. His immune system adapted faster than their simulations predicted. Every test rewrote their assumptions. Word spread. First among doctors. Then among guards. Then among politicians. By the time Elias could walk again, the station buzzed with rumors. Humans who survived the impossible. Humans who acted without calculation. Humans who did not behave like prey. Serelith visited him often. Sometimes she asked questions. Sometimes she just watched him struggle through rehabilitation, noting every clenched jaw and silent breath taken through pain. Once, she asked him if he regretted it, if the scars were worth it. Elias looked at his hands, still trembling slightly, and thought about the moment he had stepped forward. "No," he said. "But I think the galaxy might." She smiled at that. A slow, thoughtful smile. "You saved my life," she said. "Aurelium law demands repayment. I'm not looking for money." "Good," she replied. "Because what my mother intends to give you will be far more dangerous." Elias met her gaze, something heavy settling in his chest. "Humans," Serelith continued, "have been underestimated for a very long time. You did not just take arrows meant for me. You forced my people to look at your species, honestly." Outside the medical chamber, ships gathered. Messages were sent. Decisions were made. And far above New Astera Station, the alien queen began preparing a reward that would change Elias Cade's fate, and humanity's place in the stars, forever. The first thing Elias Cade noticed was the silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the heavy, watching kind, like the universe itself had paused to see what would happen next. New Astera Station was never quiet. Even at rest cycles, its walls hummed with engines, voices, and distant trade alarms. But now, as Elias walked through its central corridor flanked by Aurelian guards, every sound seemed muted. Every eye was on him. Humans were not used to this kind of attention. Usually, they were ignored, underestimated, or dismissed as useful labor. Now merchants stopped bargaining. Travelers leaned back against walls. Even predators from warlike species tracked his movement with open curiosity. The scars were visible. He wore a simple human jacket, but it could not hide the thick, uneven lines crossing his neck, shoulder, and arms. Aurelian healers had saved his life, but they had not erased the cost. Elias had refused cosmetic restoration. The scars felt honest. Serelith walked beside him, her stride confident, her presence commanding. Today she wore the full insignia of the Aurelium throne. Light bent subtly around her armor, making her seem taller, sharper, more than just another noble. "You don't have to do this," Elias said quietly. "Whatever your mother plans." She did not slow. "Yes. You do." They stopped before massive crystalline doors etched with symbols older than most civilizations. Two guards struck the floor with their weapons. The doors opened. The throne chamber was vast, circular, and alive with light. Floating banners displayed the history of the Aurelian people, wars fought, stars claimed, alliances broken and rebuilt. At the center rose a platform of living crystal. And upon it sat the queen. Queen Velith Aurelium did not look ancient, but her eyes were. They held the weight of centuries, of choices that had shaped systems and erased species. Power radiated from her not as threat, but as certainty. Elias felt small. Not weak. Just aware. "So," the queen said, her voice calm and carrying without effort. "You are the human who chose pain." Elias swallowed. "I chose action." A ripple of reaction moved through the chamber. Several advisors shifted. A few looked amused. Others looked unsettled. "Interesting distinction," the queen replied. "Most beings calculate outcomes. You did not. Why?" Elias thought of the arrows. The frozen crowd. The way his body had moved before fear could argue. Because waiting would have killed her. The Queen studied him for a long moment. Then she stood. Every Aurelian present bowed instantly. Elias hesitated, then inclined his head, not out of submission, but respect. That, the Queen said, stepping down from the platform, is exactly why you matter. She gestured, and the chamber darkened. A projection flared to life, showing dozens of star systems, trade routes, borders, contested zones. For generations, Velith continued, my people believed humans were weak, physically inferior, politically insignificant, useful only because you endure. Her gaze sharpened. Then you endured something that should have killed you, and in doing so, disrupted an entire assassination network. The projection shifted, revealing intercepted communications, exposed agents, destabilized alliances. The attempt on Serelitha's life had been only one thread in a much larger plot. By surviving, Elias had forced those threads into the light. You saved more than my daughter, the Queen said. You saved balance. Elias felt a cold realization settle in. That makes me a target. Yes, Velith said without hesitation. And an opportunity. She raised her hand. A small object floated forward, rotating slowly in the air. It looked simple, almost dull, until Elias's eyes adjusted. It was a sigil. Not Aurelian. Human. This, the Queen said, is a throne writ. A legal construct recognized by the Galactic Compact. The chamber stirred. With it, she continued, I name you an independent human envoy under Aurelian protection. You will answer to no single government. You will speak with my authority where humans are ignored. Elias's heart pounded. You're giving me political immunity. I am giving you leverage, Velith corrected, and a warning to those who would test it. Serelith turned to him, her expression unreadable. No human has ever held such a title. That's a terrible idea, Elias said honestly. The Queen smiled. So was stepping in front of arrows. Laughter rippled through the chamber, uneasy, but real. You will be watched, Velith said. Challenged. Threatened. Humans will doubt you. Aliens will fear you. And some will try to kill you. Elias took a breath. His scars ached faintly, as if remembering. What happens if I refuse? The Queen's voice softened. Then you return home a hero no one understands. And the galaxy learns nothing. Silence stretched. Elias thought of Earth's forgotten colonies. Of humans bending, adapting, surviving at the edges of alien empires. Of how close Serelith had come to dying, and how easily the universe would have shrugged and moved on. He reached out and took the sigil. I'll do it, he said. But not as your weapon. Velith inclined her head. As what, then? As proof, Elias replied. That humans don't need to be the strongest to matter. Something changed in the room. Not agreement. Recognition. In the days that followed, the consequences arrived quickly. Messages poured in from human systems. Confusion, suspicion, disbelief. Alien houses began maneuvering, testing boundaries. Security around Elias doubled. Threats multiplied. And yet, wherever he went, people looked at his scars differently now. Not as weakness. As warning. Because one human had taken arrows meant for another species, and lived. And the galaxy was starting to understand that humanity's greatest danger was not its weapons, but its willingness to stand where no one else would. The first attempt on Elias Cade's life came 3 days after the announcement. It was subtle. Quiet. Almost polite. A courier drone arrived at his temporary residence aboard the Aurelium flagship, carrying what appeared to be a standard data slate. No explosives. No obvious toxins. Just information. Elias would have ignored it entirely, except the encryption was human. Old. Military grade. Pre-expansion. That alone set his instincts on edge. He didn't touch it. Instead, he called for analysis. The Aurelium technicians were brilliant, but their methods were rigid. They expected threats to follow logic. Elias had learned long ago that danger often came disguised as something familiar. The slate contained a delayed neural pulse designed to overload human sensory implants. It wouldn't have killed him, but it would have left him helpless for several minutes. Long enough. The Aurelium intelligence officers were disturbed. "This design is crude," one of them said. "Inefficient." "It's clever," Elias replied. "It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to work once." That was the difference. Aliens built tools to dominate. Humans built tools to survive. As news of the failed attempt spread, reactions rippled across known space. Some houses pulled back, deciding Elias was too well protected. Others leaned forward, curious. A few saw opportunity. Serelith found Elias standing in the observation bay, staring out at the stars as the ship drifted between systems. "They're testing you," she said. "They're testing humans," Elias corrected. "I'm just the excuse." She studied him. "Does that frighten you?" He thought about it. About Earth. About every human colony built in places no one else wanted. About generations who learned to adapt because they had no choice. "No," he said. "It focuses me." The Queen's offer had not come with a rulebook. Elias quickly realized that was intentional. He wasn't meant to play alien politics their way. He was meant to disrupt them. So he did. Instead of closed-door negotiations, he broadcast open forums. Instead of secret alliances, he invited neutral observers. Instead of threats, he shared data, human data, about how small forces had delayed overwhelming enemies, how decentralized command prevented collapse, how creativity thrived under pressure. Alien strategists scoffed. Then they studied. Then they copied. Human influence didn't spread like conquest. It spread like an idea. Some houses adopted human logistics models. Others began training smaller, more flexible units instead of massive armies. A few even started recruiting humans, not as muscle, but as planners. That terrified the old powers. House Virex moved next. Unlike the assassins, they didn't aim for Elias directly. They targeted perception. A public accusation spread across galactic channels, claiming Elias had staged the attack on Serelith himself, that the arrows had been human-made, the sacrifice planned. False evidence followed. Edited footage. Manufactured witnesses. For a moment, doubt crept in. Even among humans. Elias watched the feeds in silence as commentators argued. He felt something heavier than fear press down on him. Disappointment. Serelith was furious. "Say the word," she demanded. "My mother will crush them." "No," Elias said quietly. "This is mine." He requested a live hearing before the Galactic Compact. They laughed. Then the Queen supported the request. The hearing chamber was massive, filled with delegates from dozens of species. Elias stood alone at the center. No guards, no armor, no weapons. Just scars and steady breathing. He did not deny the accusation immediately. Instead, he told a story. He described the moment the arrows flew. The weight of choosing without time. The pain. The fear. The uncertainty. He spoke simply, without drama. No grand speeches. No anger. Then he invited independent analysts, alien and human, to present their findings live. The evidence collapsed in real time. House Virex was exposed. Their agents panicked. Records surfaced. Payments traced. Lies unraveled. But what mattered more was what happened next. An elder delegate leaned forward. "Why did you not protect yourself politically before acting?" Elias answered honestly. "Because sometimes the cost of waiting is higher than the risk of acting." The chamber fell silent. That sentence spread farther than any broadcast. By the time the hearing ended, House Virex had lost allies. Several neutral systems declared intent to open talks with human representatives. And for the first time, the Compact voted to include humans in strategic advisory roles. Not because they were powerful. Because they were unpredictable in the best possible way. Later, alone with Serelith, Elias finally allowed himself to exhale. "You didn't win with force," she said. "You won with truth." "Truth and preparation," he replied. "Humans survive because we plan for failure." She smiled. "The galaxy is beginning to understand that humanity does not break easily." Elias looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, forces were regrouping, watching, learning. This wasn't over. But for the first time, humans weren't reacting. They were shaping the game. The war did not begin with an invasion. That was the first mistake the galaxy made. Instead of fleets and explosions, it began with silence. Trade routes closed without explanation. Human cargo ships were delayed indefinitely. Medical supplies bound for fringe colonies vanished into bureaucratic voids. Banking access was restricted. Communications were throttled. It was pressure warfare. Clean, legal, bloodless, and deadly. Within weeks, human colonies at the edge of explored space began to feel it. Power grids flickered. Hospitals rationed care. Food shipments ran late. No bombs fell, but lives were still at risk. House Virex had allies, and they wanted to prove a point. Elias Cade stood before a tactical display aboard the Aurelium flagship, watching red indicators spread across human-controlled space. Every marker represented a colony struggling to breathe. "They're trying to starve us back into insignificance," Elias said. Queen Velith stood beside him, her expression cold. "They believe humans will fracture, that your people will turn inward." "They don't understand us," Elias replied. Serelith crossed her arms. "Then help them understand." Elias nodded. He activated a transmission. Not a military order. Not a threat. A request. Across human space, a single message appeared on public channels, military networks, civilian feeds, even outdated colony relays. "Humanity needs you. Not to fight, but to think." What followed shocked everyone. Independent engineers rerouted obsolete satellites to restore communications. Civilian cargo captains formed unsanctioned convoys, using unpredictable jump patterns no alien algorithm could model. Farmers shared surplus seed data freely. Hackers broke corporate firewalls to expose blocked supply routes. No central command. No single leader. Just millions of humans acting at once. Aliens watched in confusion as human systems adapted in real time. Where trade lanes closed, humans built alternatives. Where banks froze assets, humans switched to distributed credit systems. Where pressure increased, humans leaned into cooperation. House Virex escalated. They deployed a fleet to the Aelios Drift, an unaligned region critical to human logistics. It was a calculated move. Legal. Justified under compact law. The message was clear: stand down, or we will force you. The Aurelium Council debated intervention. Elias listened in silence. Then he spoke. "Let me go," he said. Velith turned sharply. "To the Aelios Drift." "Yes." Serelith stared at him. "That fleet could erase you." Elias met her gaze. "Then they won't fire." The human envoy arrived alone. No escort. No warships. Just a single human vessel. Patched, imperfect, unmistakably civilian. It drifted into the edge of the fleet's formation and stopped. Every weapon locked on him. Elias opened a channel. "You're not here to fight humans," he said calmly. "You're here to remind the galaxy that power comes from fear." Silence answered him. "You think humans will fold because we can't match your fleets," he continued. "But you're wrong. We don't need to win battles to change outcomes." A Virex commander finally responded. "You are outmatched. Withdraw." Elias nodded. "You're right." Then he transmitted something else. Live feeds from human colonies, families adapting, engineers rebuilding, medics refusing to abandon patients. Charts showing recovery curves rising despite restrictions. Evidence of systems stabilizing without external support. "You tried to break us quietly," Elias said. All you did was teach us we don't need you. The fleet hesitated. That hesitation spread. Other houses were watching, recording, calculating. If Virex fired now, they wouldn't be enforcing order. They'd be declaring war on an idea. After 13 minutes, the fleet powered down its weapons. They withdrew. Across the galaxy, reactions erupted. Analysts scrambled. Old doctrines failed. Younger species began questioning everything they'd been taught about dominance. Humanity had not won through force. They had won by refusing to collapse. Later, as Elias returned to the Aurelium flagship, Serelith met him at the docking bay. She didn't speak at first. She simply wrapped her arms around him, holding tighter than protocol allowed. "You walked into death again," she said softly. Elias rested his forehead against hers. "And walked back out." The Queen summoned him that same night. "The galaxy has shifted," Velith said. "Because of you." "Because of humans," Elias corrected. She inclined her head. "Yes. And now the final question remains." Elias felt the weight of it before she spoke. What does humanity want to be? He thought of scars, of arrows, of colonies that refused to give up. "We want to be seen," he said. "Not as conquerors. Not as victims. Just as equals." The Queen considered that. Then she smiled. "Then my reward was only the beginning." The Galactic Assembly had never been so full. Delegates from hundreds of systems filled the vast chamber, their colors, shapes, and energies overlapping in a living mosaic of civilizations. Some had come out of curiosity, others out of fear. Many because they sensed history was about to be written, and did not want to be absent when it happened. At the center of it all stood Elias Cade. No armor, no weapons, no guards. Just a human with scars that told a story the galaxy could no longer ignore. Queen Velith of the Aurelium throne rose slowly from her seat, and the chamber fell silent. Even species that did not share sound-based language felt the weight of the moment. "Today," the Queen said, "we conclude a chapter that began with arrows in a crowded plaza." A projection ignited above them, replaying the moment that had changed everything. Frozen frames of Elias stepping forward, human flesh meeting alien steel, sacrifice without calculation. "This human," Velith continued, "did not act for power, profit, or promise. He acted because it was right." Her gaze swept the chamber. That decision forced the galaxy to confront a truth it has long avoided. She turned toward Elias. "Humanity is not weak." A ripple moved through the assembly. "Humanity is not reckless," she went on. "Nor is it primitive. It is adaptive. It is resilient. And when tested, it does not collapse, it evolves." Velith raised her hand. The Aurelium throne now delivers its true reward. The chamber darkened. Stars appeared, real ones, mapped in precise detail. Entire regions highlighted in soft gold. "These systems," the Queen said, "have been contested for centuries. Rich in resources. Strategically vital. Too unstable for traditional governance." The realization hit before the words finished forming. "They are now recognized as human-administered territories," Velith declared. "Protected by compact law. Governed by human principles." The chamber erupted. Protests. Shock. Outrage. Awe. Elias felt his breath catch. That's too much." Velith's voice cut through the noise. "No. It is appropriate." She faced the assembly. "We have spent ages granting power to those who seize it. Today, we grant responsibility to those who earn it." Several delegates stood in furious objection. Others leaned forward, suddenly interested. Smaller species exchanged rapid signals, hope flickering where none had existed before. "And there is more," Velith added. The projection shifted again, now displaying a symbol, new, simple, unmistakably human in design. The Galactic Compact recognizes humanity as a foundational stabilizing species. Silence slammed down harder than any shout. Such a title had only ever been granted to ancient civilizations, those whose collapse would destabilize entire regions of space. Elias felt dizzy. "You are saying," he said carefully, "that if humanity falls, the balance falls with you," Velith finished. "Which means the galaxy will now ensure that you do not." Serelith stepped forward then, her voice clear and steady. "Humans have already been stabilizing the frontier for decades, without recognition, without support. This merely acknowledges reality." The objections weakened. Because the evidence was undeniable. Human-led convoys had kept trade alive. Human systems had adapted fastest under pressure. Human colonies had absorbed refugees no one else wanted. Humanity had already been holding the line. After the assembly adjourned, Elias stood alone on a balcony overlooking the stars. The noise, the politics, the arguments, all of it felt distant. Serelith joined him quietly. "You look overwhelmed," she said. "I stepped in front of arrows," Elias replied. "I didn't expect to inherit half the frontier." She smiled softly. "That is the danger of human actions. They scale." He let out a slow breath. "What happens now?" "Now," she said. "Now humanity grows up." She rested her hand over the scars on his shoulder. "You showed the galaxy who you are at your best. The rest of your species will decide what to do with that." In the weeks that followed, everything changed. Human schools began teaching alien diplomacy alongside engineering. Frontier colonies received infrastructure support once denied to them. Mixed species councils formed under human administration, favoring transparency over hierarchy. Not everyone was happy. There were threats. Sabotage attempts. Angry old powers that resented the shift. But humanity did not respond with conquest. They responded with patience. With systems designed to bend without breaking. With the same stubborn refusal to give up that had carried one human through a storm of arrows. Years later, when historians marked the moment the galaxy truly changed, they did not point to a war. They pointed to a choice. A single human, in a crowded plaza, who decided that letting someone die was unacceptable. And because of that choice, humanity was no longer something the galaxy overlooked. It was something the galaxy relied on. Not because humans were the strongest, but because when the moment came, they stood.